Good evening, everybody. The Music Fan is back, bringing smiles to the faces, knowledge to the people, and most importantly, music to the masses. And just when I think I'm going to be right on track, something else happens and I am delayed with my videos. However, that doesn't mean I'm not going to put out any videos this week. I am actually sitting down right now and recording the 3 videos that I have promised for you guys this week. And if everything works out with time and editing, I'll be having these out Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. All 3 are RU-ins. Yes, that means that unfortunately I'm not going to be back with another 5-minute theory this week. I'm going to make sure that I get to that next week. So for those who've been missing that series, I appreciate your patience and I'll make sure that I get another one out as soon as possible. Anyways, on this RU-in, we're taking a look at the newest Lana Del Rey album entitled Norman fucking Rockwell. Now, Elizabeth Woolridge Grant, better known as Lana Del Rey, is an American singer, songwriter, record producer, poet, and music video director from New York, New York. Previous albums of hers include Lana Del Rey in 2010, Born to Die in 2012, Ultraviolence in 2014, Honeymoon in 2015, and Lust for Life in 2017. I've been pretty mixed on Lana Del Rey. I enjoy her storytelling a lot. She can pen a story with the best of them. Some people I've noticed, and I find this comparison pretty apt, compare her to Daughters on Missy, where they both have more simplistic arrangements to give way to interesting storytelling. However, I would say that Fire Dawn Missy is a little bit more interesting to me only because I think his lyrics are a little bit more interesting and more insightful, and I find his style of singing more palatable to me. Not to say that Lana Del Rey is bad, but a lot of her stuff has, to me, felt a little bit monotonous. I don't remember exactly where I started listening to her. I believe it was Born to Die, but I listened to that and Lust for Life. And Lust from Life was very close to being in my top 50 for 2017. The problem with it that I found was that even though the lyrics were good, the album was so saturated with material that even though there was some good songs, there were just so many songs that I was indifferent about. And even if I enjoyed a lot of what was there, I couldn't find a place on my list for it. There was just way too many songs that took away from the positives. And honestly, that's been my biggest issue with her. Even though I've liked bits and pieces of her music, it feels like there's a little bit too much of her on every album, where if you stripped a couple songs from there, you could have had something incredible. So I've been waiting for something to really grip me when it comes to her. And from what I understand from others, a lot of people have been raving about this album, so I had to take a listen. Could this finally be an album that I can sink my teeth into and enjoy the whole entire thing? I will say from the get-go, you're getting a more stripped down sound from her and even a little bit more introspective look from her. Those 2 aspects make for some of the best songs that she has done. We start off with Norman fucking Rockwell, a song about a poet that she's in love with, who his poetry kind of sucks, and he's kind of immature, but she still loves him anyways. I really enjoy the 6/8 flowy feel on the verses. It does have a beautiful melody and an even better chorus, though I think it gets a little bit clunky when it moves between the 6/8 to the 4/4. Moving on, we also have Mariner's Apartment Complex. I think both of these are some of her better works so far that I have heard. I enjoy the lyrics on here about being a guide for someone lost in the world or down on their luck, and being able to talk about it from her perspective of also being down on her luck. The song feels very folky, and it could have easily fit in the late 60s, early 70s. A lot of her, it feels very classic rock, and this song fits perfectly in her wheelhouse. It's mostly piano with some acoustic guitar and a little bit of sparse drumming, but it gives room for Lana's absolutely gorgeous melody and harmonies. My favorite part being the second half of the chorus, the "right where you are." Such a solid and just really memorable chorus line. The electric guitar at the end doesn't really need to be there, but at least it's like playful and a little bit more atmospheric, working well with the rest of the song. Love Song is mostly her and piano, and it also has a little bit of synths. The melody and the chord progression on the chorus is outstanding, and it feels really open and vulnerable. Lyrics, of course, being about helplessly in love with a particular partner, whether it's the poet or someone else in her life. A lot of this album seems to be her being nostalgic about certain things in her past, but also growing from there. Cinnamon Girl is also really vulnerable, and it has one of the better lines that she has penned. But if you hold me without hurting me, you'll be the first who ever did. And it's showing reason why she's always distant when it comes to relationships. It's because of the fact that she's worried that any person that will be with her will be there either not long enough to make a difference or be there too long and eventually see her flaws. And it's hard for her to open up in that way. On the other side of that lyrical idea, you have How to Disappear, which is this kind of like jingly 6/8 rock song, something that you could easily hear at a diner in the 50s. This song is about wanting a person that she cares about to open up to her and feel that they can be vulnerable to her instead of being someone who has to move mountains to make everything work. The vibe I enjoy, but the synths in there don't really work with that idea. It contrasts in a way that it kind of makes it a weaker song, but the melody and the lyrics hold this song afloat very well. California is also very standout to me. This one doesn't have necessarily the most interesting arrangement to me, but it does build very well with having piano and vocals at the beginning before adding guitar and drums as well. And then the second verse picks up a little bit more of that drum activity. But what stands out for this song is the vulnerability, wanting and wishing for someone to be back with her and hoping that if she was there, that she could tell him that he could have been vulnerable and that he could have been a different person that she thought that she didn't want. As you can see, you're getting a lot of maturity from Lana on this album, and this is one of those songs that really stands out in terms of seeing her change as a person. Also, what stands out on here is the harmonies on the chorus. It's really cool to have this whole step approach from A and B just right there, that clashing idea I really enjoy. Rounding out my favorites is two piano ballads, Happiness is a Butterfly and Hope is a Dangerous Thing for a Woman Like Me to Have, But I Have It. These are the last two songs in the album, and they encompass a lot of what she's feeling and also gives a little bit of resolution. Happiness is a Butterfly is talking about looking for happiness and companionship and feeling like you need that because you're feeling like you're not worth it unless you have somebody there. It's really simplistic, but what I like a lot is how the energy grows on the vocals. The verse is pretty legato, but eventually you get to a more staccato rhythmic part with so much energy and so much intensity from her. It seems like she's like about to lose it. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's from the perspective of her talking about like, who cares if this person is a horrible person because I'm already lost with this person and I want him to be here no matter who he is. It just gets really intense, asking him not to call her a taxi and not to end this because she's enjoying what she has for that moment. But on the flip side, you have Hope is a Dangerous Thing for a Woman Like Me to Have. It feels like she is finally at a place in her life where even though she feels down at times and feels like she's not wanted, at the same time though, she has the resolution of being like, I know I don't have everything in place, I know I'm not perfect, but I have hope. And for me to have been through so many things in my life and to still have that, that is a really strong thing and a really great way of ending this album. It's another sparse piano ballad, but the melody and the lyrics take over, making it strong. Though it does meander a little bit at the end, and that's where I get into some of the problems on this album. Let's start off with The Greatest. Tying into a song that meanders, this one to me stands out in a very negative way. There are some nice ideas. It's her talking about nostalgia for what she had before and now looking at the world and seeing that it's kind of falling apart. That's a sentiment that a lot of people my age are echoing. I do enjoy her talking about this and like the imagery that she uses. But other than a pretty decent chorus that reminds me a lot of Sam Smith's I'm Not the Only One, the rest of the song is very subpar. The verses aren't that interesting, and the outro is way too long and overdone. It does eventually get to a little interesting piano outro, but getting there is not an enjoyable listen. Also, there's a really tinny nature on the drums that ruins a great arrangement. Even though there are some great songs on this album, there are some missteps that drag down this album. Some are pretty easy to look past. The Next Best American Record is decent, talking about a love between two people, and these two people were looking to make the next best American record, either a literal sense of making music or a figurative sense of this relationship turning into something that you would see on an American record. The sparse guitar at the beginning feels nice, though it feels like it's a sense of false vulnerability, which I'm not a huge fan of on this song. It tries to have that vulnerable sense, but to me it doesn't really work. And then the chorus feels like a lot of what she's done before on previous records. Not bad, just nothing new. Bartender, another sparse vocal piano ballad, and the flowing piano in the chorus is really nice, and most of the melody is very solid. However, one thing that hugely bothers me on the song is the way that she goes tender. It didn't need to be there, and it kind of takes you away from the rest of the song. That's really interesting about how she's trying to find ways of getting away from everybody else due to her celebrity. Venice Bitch, though, is probably the most frustrating song on the album. First couple of minutes are great, and actually a very interesting arrangement that I never really heard from her. A little bit more acoustic, finger-picked ideas. It's very similar in vibe at parts to Mariner's apartment complex, but after the first 2 minutes, you realize you still have 7 more minutes to go, and it feels like a lot of them is just filler. There's this part when the rest of the band comes in with some synths and guitar work and some sporadic vocals. None of it feels cohesive, none of it feels interesting. It just feels like they're meandering because they can. It kind of reminds me of the last song on Red Pill Blues by Maroon 5, which I've talked about in length. Absolutely hate. It's frustrating to me to hear a song that long because it feels like they're like, okay, we can try to do something. A lot of people like longer songs. What are we going to do? We're just going to fill it with whatever we want, and it just doesn't go anywhere. The vocals at the last minute are nice and do wrap everything up, but why have those 6 minutes of filler? That is my huge problem with this song. Other than that, you also have 2 others. Fuck It, I Love You, which has a decent vibe at first, but the pre-chorus and chorus melody are absolutely grating, making, other than Venice Bitch, the worst listen on the album. And you do have Doing Time, a cover of the Sublime song. Not bad. It has a really nice chill vibe and it works well in her voice, but I don't understand why that's on here. Overall, I'm left with a little bit of a mixed bag. I enjoy a lot of what is on here, and I do enjoy the more vulnerable and growing up side of Lana Del Rey. Talking less about her sexcapades and everything that she's done in her past, but more looking inward and realizing that she can find love and be fine with being vulnerable and be fine with others being vulnerable. However, like my other problems with past albums of hers, there is too much on here, and it drags down an album that could have been great. This is almost 60 minutes of material over 14 songs, and I would say 9 of them are worth listening to again. 10 with Next Best American Record, if you used just those 10, would have been fine with it. But with 14 songs, there's just way too much material, and you're bound to find bad songs on here. So to me, this is a pick and choose. And to me, the songs that you should listen to are Mariner's Apartment Complex, California, Happiness is a Butterfly, Love Song, Norman fucking Rockwell, Hope is a Dangerous Thing for a Woman Like Me to Have, But I Have It, Cinnamon Girl, How to Disappear, Doing Time, and I guess I'll throw in Next Best American Record. Those 10 are worth a listen. You get a lot of really vulnerable, really stripped down songs that show off not just her voice in the best way possible, but also some great storytelling that you'd be remiss not to hear. I would love for an album of hers just being 45 minutes long, 10 tracks, 9 tracks, and the most concise possible. If she could do that, she would take the pop industry, the mainstream industry by storm. Until then, I'm going to be still on the fence with her. Though this is getting close to someone that I can anticipate her albums in a positive way. But that is my time. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you love or hate this album and your reasons why. Let me know albums from 2019 that you'd like me to review. Share this with your friends, and most importantly, subscribe to my channel. That way I know that you enjoy what I'm doing and want to see the channel become bigger and better for the future. So tomorrow I'm going to be back with another Are You In? But until then, this is The Music Fan, and I'm signing off.